Reset, presented by Cigna. Today, we look at what the reigning Super Bowl champs have been up to this offseason. It all started when they franchise tagged Chris Godwin, and then they basically re-signed everyone from that championship team. Most recently, of course, it was Endamukong Suh and Donovan Smith, getting deals done with the team. Of course, they did extend Tom Brady's contract, who might very well play until he is 50.
That's a fact.
Look at that list right there, guys. That is basically all starters, or it is indeed starters. So Bruce Arians wasn't kidding when he said that this band is staying together and running it back. So that now begs the question, guys, will the 2021 Buccaneers be the best team that Tom Brady's ever played for?
I believe so. I said this last year before the season started, and, got a little kickback from the table, and Peter lighted me up saying, I can't believe you said that. What about Randy Moss and your former team? I get it. Tom Brady has had some great teams, and it's no disrespect to any of his teammates he's had as New England Patriot, but when you look at the players that were already on the roster, what they were playing for, because a lot of these guys weren't just playing for a Super Bowl, they're also playing for contracts. And I always say this, there's nothing more motivated than a man who's motivated by money. And then the guys that they brought in, Gronk and AB, Leonard Fournette, including, of course, Tom Brady at the top of that list. It's just difficult to bring players back. I was coaching high school football this year, and we have turnover, and we didn't even win a championship. About 20 dudes left because they want more playing time. They want to shine more. A couple guys left because they want to wear different jerseys at a different school. Yeah. It's just hard to bring players back, especially at this level. It doesn't happen, and now they have an entire offseason to get right.
Did you feel like that was a dominant Tampa team last year, though?
I don't think it was dominant.
First 3 months of the season, obviously, they're kind of finding their way. They definitely played well down the stretch, but they squeaked by in every playoff game prior to the Super Bowl, where obviously they widely outplayed the Chiefs. We're talking about the best team that Tom Brady has been on. To me, the bar is still set with the 2004 Patriots. That was the third of the Patriots Super Bowl wins, the third in 4 years at that time. Corey Dillon was averaging over 100 yards per game. You had a defense with Rodney Harrison, Teddy Bruschi, Mike Vrabel, Richard Seymour, Willie McGinnis, Asante Samuel, a young Vince Wilfork. I mean, this was a really good team. Brady threw 14 interceptions that year. He didn't do it all himself. That was the best team. You want to talk about a team? Yeah. I won't say they carried the greatest quarterback of all time, but defense sure took a lot of pressure off him.
Tom, you like that team better than the 18-0 team that lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants? You think that team was better?
If you just look at what they did, especially in the playoffs, that team, I mean, they played the Colts in the divisional round, blew them out. Yeah. Then they played a Steelers team that had gone 15-1, blew them out, and then went into the Super Bowl against the Eagles, which is a really good Eagles team too, beat them. Just the way that they went through that. 2007, I'm not just discounting the entire season because they did not win the Super Bowl. Yeah. A really different type of a team because that one was so offense-driven, where, of course, those first few Super Bowls were really driven by the D.
Well, there's symmetry here because that 07 team couldn't win the Super Bowl, and if you look at the Bucs team last year, I mean, that was one of the most memorable butt kickings we've seen in a Super Bowl, not only because it was 31-9, it was 31-9 over the defending champs and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it was a dominant thing. So I always get the sense about that Bucs team last year, they were ahead of schedule in the sense that they weren't supposed to win the Super Bowl last year. That was the warm-up year. That was let's get everybody together. And they did anyway. And never mind the first 3 months. Never even mind the first couple rounds of the playoffs. When they showed up and beat Rodgers and Lambeau, and then what they did to Mahomes in that Super Bowl was astonishing. And here's what's really astonishing. Here is your proverbial full screen about the Bucs next year. Give it to me. This is the Tampa Bay Bucs offense. Guys, that's the guys who played in the Super Bowl. That's 11 players, and 11 players. They're all back. 11 for 11. The entire line. Put Ronald Jones at running back with Fournette in question. The receiver. 11 for 11 on offense. So certainly there's major losses in the defense. Let's see the defense. That's 11 players. This is 22. It is a full roster that was in the Super Bowl and is back. I got news for you. Ryan Suckup, Zach Triner, Bradley Pinion, kicker, punter, long snapper, all under contract for next year.
If the long snapper's back.
The long snapper's back, Tom. 25 out of 25. Never mind a Super Bowl team. I don't know if that's ever happened in any team, ever. And that is why Light and that whole front office there, they won the offseason. Now, the Patriots can sign whoever they want. They can go for Nelson Aguilar and John Hughes. The 25 of 25 players who destroyed the Chiefs will be taking the field week one, and I think that's the reason. I think that's the best team.
Do you have any word on the team chef or the janitor?
I heard that the custodial unit was still holding out. And they
had a big season amidst COVID, by the way.
A lot to clean up, a lot to sanitize. They avoided the tag, but they're still working it out, Nate. The groundskeeper they're in.
I do think there are two other points here. One, the entire coaching staff is back.
Yes.
Look at the job. When Tom talks about early in the season, there were close games. Well, again, it was a team that was learning itself, that was learning each other. So you get both your coordinators back. You have that warm-up year that went so well. And then the second point here is Nate talking about guys wanting money. So you think, okay, when you win, everybody eats, and some of these people were going to go off and get big contracts like maybe Shaq Barrett, and he didn't. Barrett felt it was so important to come back, and he liked the prospects of being with this team that he probably took a little less money than he could have gotten on the open market.
And it's funny because Shaq Barrett or even Devin White, when you listen to these guys, they were talking more about Levante David than they were talking about themselves. It was almost like
also back.
He was also back, and I think they were strategically doing that. They were saying, "Listen, he needs to be back. He needs to be back." And when the organization signs a guy like that and makes him happy, maybe pays him more than he would have received in the market, and the rest of the guys, the young guys who wanted to run off and go get the bag, were kind of like, all right, I'll take a pay cut because they're handling it the right way, and they're doing it. And I do believe with another offseason, these guys together, they're at the top of the list.
Let me just say, Moss, Welker, Wilfork et al., very, very good. Might have been slightly disrespected in this segment. Hell of a team.
Yeah, yeah.
Kyle,
did they win a Super Bowl?
Nah, not in the time I'm talking about, but they did have an 18-0 record. It's impressive. We'll see. Let's
hedging. We're hedging. I think Kyle is hedging.
I just like those guys. Those are some good teams.
As we get you all set for Pro Days, we're taking a close look